All right, I think we're going to get started. Welcome. My name is Troy Zabucos. I'm joined with my partner in crime, Rafael Reyes, here. And today our objective is to talk about why some of the largest organizations in the world are betting their business on Lync and betting their business on Skype moving forward. And both Rafael and I sit in an interesting part of the organization. We sit in between the customers who are evaluating, deploying, consuming the technology, and between that and the business group that builds the technology. And so because of that, we get a very interesting perspective about what works, what doesn't work, how customers want to use it, and more importantly, how customers want us to evolve the Lync and Skype business moving forward. So our hope for this session is to provide some of that insight for you, to provide some insight in terms of why and how customers are using the product today and how they want to use it moving forward. In terms of the way that we wanted to structure the conversation, we took 5 areas where organizations are telling us that it's the reason that they're adopting in the first place. And we use that as the structure. There are plenty of other reasons why organizations are adopting Lync and Skype, but these are 5 common areas that we see across customers. Number 1, best-of-breed voice. If you look at the maturity of our voice solution, we've gone on this journey and we've evolved the technology to the point where we have an enterprise-grade solution for voice. But what we're also hearing as we have that solution ready, organizations are telling us that they want us to be thinking much more broadly about the different workloads, how it fits with other communications workloads, and how it fits with the other productivity workloads. So those are 2 components that we look at very closely. Second area comes up in every single conversation, and that's cost. More than any other technology at Microsoft, the Lync and now the Skype business enables us to provide a hard cost savings for customers so they understand very quickly how this will reduce cost in their organization. And I'll walk you through some of the evaluations that we've built and the cost justifications that we've built for specific customers so you have a feel for that. The third area, integration with Lync and Skype. Organizations are coming back very clearly and saying, we like the direction that you're going with Lync and Skype. And we believe that this is a differentiator in the market. We believe that there's no other vendor in the market that can span the commercial to the consumer. And so we think that's a pretty big differentiator. Today, you can connect Lync and Skype. You can federate those 2 components for audio conferencing. You heard earlier in the session, in the keynote, that we're a few months away from that video to video, which we think is a game changer. And as we think long term, our intent with the product is to enable these one-to-many meetings as if you were doing a Lync session, but people can connect through Lync or Skype. It doesn't matter. In the end, you don't care if you're organizing the meeting. But what that does is it enables a number of B2B scenarios and B2C scenarios like we haven't been able to enable before. Number 4, Rafael will talk about some of the Lync-based applications that we're seeing. We have this tremendous ecosystem of partners that are building more and more value on top of Lync, taking things like IM and Presence and building it right into the industry applications that they're building. And then the 5th one, I'll list as just new capabilities. We have a pretty robust roadmap, but even with what customers are seeing today with Lync Room systems and support for mobile devices, there's lots of enthusiasm about where we're going. In the end, large organizations are betting their business on Lync, and so we'll walk through some of those scenarios and why they're doing it. So let me just start off with a quick personal story. I started working with Lync and Skype back in about 2005. I managed the unified communications business in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And at that time, we made the commitment, as you heard today, this kind of journey that we went on, we made the commitment to be competitive in the voice space. At that time, that was a vision. We didn't have any of these customers. And if you think about the progress that we made in the last 7 to 10 years to be one of the leading providers of enterprise voice solutions, it's pretty tremendous and it's pretty exciting to see. I'll just go through a few of these. AstraZeneca, 25,000 voice seats. LA Fitness, the same. Shell, 25,000 voice seats. Shell believes that they're going to retire somewhere around 200 different PBX components over the next year or 2 because of that switch to Lync. If you look at Sprint, 39,000 voice users. And Sprint, like many of these organizations, came to us and they said, we have no interest whatsoever in ever buying another PBX system. We don't want to buy it. We don't want to support it for the next 7 years. We have no interest in that cost. And what we want, they looked to us and they said, help us avoid that moving forward. So the majority of these customers have removed their PBX altogether, and they use Lync for that PBX component. A few areas of just kind of momentum in the business. 150% growth rate for our voice business over the last year. Very excited about that. 70% of the Fortune 500 organizations using Lync. If you look at the Fortune 100, it's much higher than that. It's more like 90% of the Fortune 100 customers or organizations using Lync. 60%, you heard this stat earlier, 60% of organizations are either planning a deployment or deploying Lync today in that space. And 5 million telephony users. We recently announced that Microsoft is the leading shipper of voice lines. All of those things, very exciting. We've definitely turned a corner when it comes to the Lync business. We've definitely put ourselves in a situation and put our customers in a situation, as well as our partners, in an environment where we are leading the space. And we're very excited about that. But in the end, we never intended to be a PBX vendor. We wanted to change the game. We wanted to change the way that people think about communications. And the way that we did that is we looked at all of these different workloads, all of these individual workloads, and pulling them together in a rich way. And what I mean by that is there was a time when Office applications, video, audio, telephony, chat, instant messaging, web conferencing, voicemail, they were all different technologies, and they were all different vendors. And it just didn't work for organizations because everyone represented a different bill, everyone represented a different technology that they needed to manage. Our goal, when we looked at the unified communications platform, is to pull all these together in a very, very rich way. And to pull them together in a way where there's a single user interface and a single security and management layer around those. That differentiates us from many of our competitors. So we wanted to look at both sides. We wanted to be the best of breed when it comes to voice, and I feel like we're at that point today. But we also wanted to think very differently about the communications workloads and pull them together in a very rich way. In the end, our goal was to democratize unified communications. What does that mean? If you think about how organizations use business intelligence today, there was a time when business intelligence was only available for the people in finance or the executive ranks of an organization. That's not the case anymore. We believe that anyone at a desktop should have the ability to access information, data, to slice and dice that data and present it in a very consumable way. The same is true for unified communications. We believe that anyone at a desktop or now anyone at a device should have the ability with a single click, or as you saw this morning, maybe you don't even need a single click. They should be able to do that escalate to a phone call. They should be able to escalate to a video conference. They should know presence information for those organizations, for those end users. So that's what we wanted to change. I believe that we differentiated ourselves in the market by doing so. And like I said, we've turned the corner on voice, but most organizations are saying, actually, I'll give you an example. We were talking to a partner a week ago, and the partner said, you know, if it was 12 months ago, the customer would be asking, what's your call control solution? Today, that's different. What they're doing is they're saying, what is your communications solution? How are you helping me pull all these things together in a very rich way? So let's get to the meat of the discussion. The second reason that I said that organizations were adopting the technology is because of cost savings. And just using back-of-the-napkin math, you can see these, and organizations get it very quickly. What's more, we'll help you build it. We have the tools to build the cost justification for these scenarios. If you're a partner and you want to build it for your customer, I'm happy to provide the tools. Just give me your business card at the end, and I'll send those out to you. Or if you're an organization that's looking to do the cost justification, we'll help you get there. But what I wanted to do, actually, let me see a show of hands. Who was in the Marty Parker session on business cases earlier today? A few people? It's interesting, if you look at the numbers that he produced, he was much more aggressive about these business cases, right? I mean, he was looking in the 200 to 300% ROI. We tried to be very conservative in what we showed here. And if you look at, if you're looking at a manufacturing scenario, that business case might be around automating your supply chain. If you're in education, that business case may be around connecting students with faculty in disparate environments. What I want to do is show 5 cases that would work for any organization. They're horizontal in effect. The first one, reducing travel expenses. What we found is that organizations can save about anywhere from 5 to 30% of their travel expenses. And the way to think about that is if you are enabling high-definition video, if you are enabling an environment where you can connect and you see presence in a very rich way, end users, knowledge workers will effectively travel less. And we've seen this across the board. Good example, Miami-Dade University, 40 campuses across the state. Those faculty members and the students have to travel from campus to campus to campus in order to either attend or to present the classes. What we've seen the university system do is they've integrated an environment where they use Lync to connect those people. Now they're looking at the Skype component to see how that plays in. But just with the Lync component, they were able to reduce their costs up to about 30% in terms of travel cost. A quick side note on that, they were also able to reduce their carbon emissions quite dramatically. And so that helped them get the grant in the first place to build the system to do that. Second area, audio conferencing. There are so many organizations today that pay a third party to do audio conferencing. They have their little conferencing number and people get addicted to it. They don't want to lose it. They want to hold on to that conferencing number. And that works and people love it until IT pushes the bill out to the departments. And when they do, it's a whole different scenario. The departments had no idea it was costing them so much to use an third-party audio conferencing service. And so what we've seen is that in many cases, probably 80 to 90% of the scenarios, they can do that using Lync with the technology that they already own. They don't need to pay a vendor an extra amount to do that. Yeah, was there a question? Well, in this case, we're talking about a third party. Yes, just audio conferencing. Yeah. Yep, it's a good feedback. We're only talking about audio conferencing here. And so what we're finding, though, is that when we enable Lync in their organization, they have the same experience. As a matter of fact, they have a better experience because they control who they bring into a call. They can meet on the fly, but it gives them much more flexibility, and they don't have the cost of that third-party provider there. Another area, I showed you all the customers up front, PBX replacement. Certainly a cost savings, 40 to 60%. I will mention, the one around audio conferencing is much more dramatic, more like a 30 to 95% scenario. We've seen organizations take almost nearly all their conferencing workloads and put it on Lync, and that works for them. In the scenarios where they don't, they continue to have a third party, but you heard earlier that we will start delivering a new online meeting scenario that allows you to scale up those meetings. So for that 5% that we don't cover, we will look for some announcements from us in that space for these new online meeting scenarios to enable that. Another area, PSTN charges, phone charges. Give you again another personal story. The last 2 weeks I spent in Europe and Middle East, and during that time, on any given day, I had anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of conference calls every day. Now I have a couple choices there. I can pick up the hotel phone, and I can take those conferences on that hotel phone. Anyone think that's a good idea? No, I learned this the hard way. I've been with Microsoft 13 years. I was with the company for 6 months, and I did exactly that. It was about $2,000 in charges for the week. Yeah, I'll never do that again. I've been scarred for life. But then I said, I need to go into UC and fix all this stuff. So the second scenario, I could have used my mobile, right? I mean, simple enough. But the roaming cost for mobile, easily several $100s, possibly more in that scenario. So those scenarios don't work. Or I can purchase a Wi-Fi connection, $10 to $15 a day. In many hotels, it's free. And I can take all of those calls through that connection. So if you think of, if maybe I had 15 minutes of calls, maybe I had 15 hours of calls, it's the exact same cost. It may be $10, it might be free. And you think about the scenario, I'm one of, 100,000 Microsoft employees. Any one of them could be traveling on any given day in a different market. And so the cost adds up very quickly. Again, all of this is back of the napkin cost savings, right? I mean, we can build this out in 3 minutes. But like I said, we have the tools to do it. If you're interested, let me know, and I'm happy to send them to you. The last area here is around real estate, and it's listed as shared workspaces. We've seen what I would call a revolution in terms of how organizations are thinking about their facilities, about thinking about how they drive efficiency in that mix. And we've gone through that process at Microsoft too. I'll share that. But what they're doing is they're looking at ways to enable people to collaborate in a much more fluid way. They enable people to connect very easily. They also provide space where if people want to just work, they can go and do that. But what they're finding in going through that process is that not only can they work and provide better value for their employees, they can also save a lot of money. A couple stats here. Real estate represents the second largest cost behind people cost. 80% of the workers spend some time outside of their office. Even if they're in the office, 50% of the time they're somewhere else. And so if you think about these scenarios, this is not good from a cost setting. We went through the same process at Microsoft. We call it the workplace advantage, and what we found is some of the same stats. Again, I'll go with the personal story. I spend about 10% of my working time in my office. There's just no reason for me to be in my office. You know, most of our field offices have gone to this open format. Redmond, we have a lot of legacy buildings, and so we still have offices. There's just no reason for me to be there. In my bay of offices, there are probably 24 individual offices. On any given day, 3 or 4 are occupied. It's just not the most economic use of space. And so what we did is we did this study. One other actually scenario is I've moved offices 3 times in the last year. Does anyone know what the most expensive part of moving an office is? Anyone want to take a guess? It's the phone, absolutely. And so for me, and like most other people at Microsoft, I mean, I haven't had a desktop phone in 10 years. So I've got my box, I've got my file cabinet, I've got my PC, and I go on my way. Zero is the cost for that move. So we went through this process and we found in between reduced travel cost, reduced audio cost, reduced office moves, we've saved somewhere around $100 million in that mix for Microsoft. So pretty significant savings just in, you know, if you're thinking about the real estate component of this mix. Any questions on the information that I've shared so far? Any questions on where we're seeing the cost justification? Or maybe you've seen other areas of cost justification you'd like to bring up? I always feel like I ignore the folks over here because of this big screen. Sorry about that. Any questions so far?
Sorry, I do. Is this an
Yeah.
external analyst firm coming up with these numbers, or how is this coming?
Yeah, so it's a variety of ways. So number one, we have a tool that can help you build these numbers. And if you don't agree with the numbers that come out, you can change any of the assumptions that are made in this tool. It's meant to be 100% self-service. Then what we do is the way we put the numbers in the first place, because you don't get an empty tool, right? You get it's populated. We built that either on analyst numbers or on case studies from organizations that have deployed the technology before. So that's our starting point, and then you can change anything from that point. Any other questions? Yes?
The numbers change relative to whether the Lync solution is on-prem or in the cloud?
It does. I don't have anything in the tool today that does that. What we've seen is organizations look at a cloud offering in a very different way than on premises. And most of that cost savings will come from efficiencies of whether you're managing it or we're managing it. And if you look at the cost difference between the two, it's not very significant. In many cases, for the same cost, you can get us to manage it. It's important to understand why we went that route in the first place. I would say most of this is legacy and most of it's on-prem, and therefore you should read into that. If you were looking at an online solution, those costs would be more dramatic because we're not charging a whole lot more to manage the infrastructure for you. But I was saying the reason why we went that route is we wanted organizations to be on the latest technology that we have, and we found that we could move faster than them in getting them there. And so what we've enabled with that online component is an environment where we can keep them up to date all the time. They don't have to think about version control. We just build that right into the service effectively. Any others before we go on? Okay. So that's a Microsoft scenario. There's no reason why you need to believe our take for it. Here are some other organizations that have received some pretty dramatic cost savings. I'll go through one of them. We mentioned it early on. Sprint, 13 million savings. There's a lot of detail here. I want to make sure I hit it all. This was all part of their mobile workforce initiative. They reduced commuting time. They reduced unused office space. They looked at their PBX and they felt like it didn't offer the flexibility that they wanted. They had 489 different PBX components, just to give you an idea of the complexity of Sprint's environment at the time. And where most of the cost savings came from was removing the desktop phone. 70% of their PBX cost was actually the phone that sat on their desktop. It wasn't the infrastructure that sits in the back end. And so they were able to remove $7 million in carrier charges, $2.5 million in maintenance, and about $4 million in audio conferencing. They haven't quantified, but they've also reduced the number of people managing their environment. It used to be 30, now it's about 22 managing both Exchange and their UC capabilities. So anyway, some great data points on organizations that have reduced their costs quite dramatically. What I want to do is show you one more example from a video of a very innovative organization, Helly Hansen, which we do a lot of work for, and it will give you another sense of not only the cost savings, but the kind of benefit and how it transforms their organization.
Helly Hansen always pushes itself to develop new fabrics, new technologies, but also new styles and designs. Our Thrim jacket is our pinnacle ski piece. It sits above everything else.
The Thrim jacket is one of our most complicated jackets.
265 pieces, carefully chosen to meet consumer demands.
The quality is really important because life can be at stake. It's a lot of small specifications that could go wrong.
There is a team of 10 designers, 25 garment developer, 5 category manager, and also a team in Hong Kong with 5 people for the sourcing. So it makes a really big team.
Let's say that we decide to change the color of the lining. Now it's a turquoise blue, and then we would like to make it pink.
The tech pack is a document that we're sharing with everyone to make sure that we're creating the jacket as we want it to be.
It's easy for me to check out the document, and I keep it checked out while I'm working with it, and that could take a week or even 2 weeks. But when I have it checked out, no one else can go in there and edit it.
If a tech pack is wrong, the factory is going to produce a wrong garment. That's not what we want.
If we're selling in that jacket to our customers with a pink lining, they're not going to be happy if they get a turquoise lining.
That's going to be a complete disaster if we are sending a wrong information.
We can track who makes changes, and we can go back to them and say, why did you do this? Or I see you did this, thanks.
This document is an ongoing living creation where people can really concentrate on being creative.
I went to the factory, picked up the samples, brought them here to the office, called my category manager in Norway, and we went through the samples step by step.
None of us has English as a mother tongue. So it can be quite important to show what you're meaning on a garment. Instead of trying to explain, I want a zipper to be 45 degrees cross over the collar. Okay, what do you mean by that? I can just actually have the video conversation and showing like this.
Yesterday I had a meeting with people in Vancouver, Seattle, and in Sweden, and I was located in Munich. We are all working into one document, feeling like we are in one place, but actually we are all spread out over the world.
That workflow probably saved us 3 weeks.
There is now one source of truth. The team are always communicating from one place only, and they are not downloading any files anymore.
Tasks are easier, everything runs smoother.
And at the end, the result is this jacket, which is a masterpiece of the collection.
265 steps in this jacket. When all those steps aligns, it's magic. It just works.
So I love showing this story for a couple reasons. Number one, we're here to talk about Lync, but you could see by that solution, we don't sell Lync in a silo. The Lync component is just one of the communications, modes, if you will, but it has to integrate with Office. It has to integrate with SharePoint. It has to integrate with everything that you're using from a productivity standpoint. So if you're in SharePoint and you have a person there, if you can within a site, you can call them right from that site, and so all that integration takes place right there. The other reason I like showing that is because my first job out of college was doing exactly what they showed for a small company called Authentic Fitness Corporation. I tell you, if you get one of those colors wrong, forget it. They don't get paid, right? They don't get paid. They talked about 3 weeks out of their workflow. That's fantastic. But if they get one of those things wrong, forget it. It's game over. That supplier or that store, that retail chain will no longer carry their stuff. So again, it's about taking these capabilities and transforming the way organizations work here, and that's what we're all about. So the last part of what I wanted to talk about before Raphael comes up is Lync and Skype together. And I think it's critical that you get a feel for, number one, how significant this is for Microsoft and how significant it is for our customers. It really is a game changer and a differentiator, and I want to walk through why and where we're seeing companies adopt this in specific industries. So I've got an example here where Cheryl is in her home office in Denver, Colorado. She's connecting with John, who's in the head office in the UK, and then she's also, because they're on Lync, they can easily connect with their partners. As I mentioned, 90% of the Fortune 100 organizations have Lync, and so they can federate between those organizations quite easily. Where Skype comes in and makes it very interesting is she can now connect with a small supplier in Singapore or a customer in the US. She can connect with anyone who's using Skype. There's 320 million people using Skype. And a lot of people think, well, suppliers, if you're a supplier for Boeing, then your supplier organizations are set and they're already in your system. But that's not the case, because supply chains change all the time, and you have vendors who are coming and going all the time, and you want a quick and easy way to bring those people into the fold. The other thing to think about is that if you are a seller of anything, your Rolodex just increased by 320 million users. So if you think about that in whatever business you're in, you can see some of those scenarios play out. So in this case, if Cheryl's doing a product launch, for example, she launches that not only with the people on Lync, but she launches that with all of the people that are her customers, that are her supply chain, and they can connect in a very rich way with those individuals. So let me talk about how organizations are coming to terms with what this Lync and Skype component means, because we go into a lot of scenarios and we want to talk about Lync and how it's going to transform their business, and they're like, tell me about this Skype thing. Sounds very interesting, and I want to understand how I can leverage it. So a good example, financial services. If you think of a capital markets organization, where the money is and where the investment is in the portfolio managers. It's the people who manage money for their clients. And so one of the key things that financial service organizations are looking for is this idea of remote advisor. And that is, if I'm a money manager, how do I connect with my high net worth clients in a much richer way? How do I provide that higher level of service? That's a scenario that we're hearing quite a bit. If I'm in a bank and I'm a customer service representative, I can't be an expert on the 150 different services that we sell, so how do I quickly escalate to, how do I find them, the expert? How do I quickly escalate to them? The other one that we're hearing about quite often in financial services, translation services. If you think of a branch bank, it might be 15 branch banks in a city, they can't invest to have a Spanish-speaking person in every branch, as an example, much less a French-speaking person, and so what happens is they have a single translator in one of the branches, and then they can be pulled in via Lync, which again is very attractive. We see a lot of scenarios in financial services where they don't want to house their employees. Amex Travel Services, great example. They don't want to pay for that. And so if they can enable those people to work from home, that Lync Skype connection becomes quite valuable. Second area, government. Government organizations are looking at this and thinking of it as a platform for additional services that they would offer. I had a great conversation about, in one of the court systems, they want to use Lync and Skype for judicial interviews. When either an expert or a witness can't be there in person, they use Lync and Skype right in the courtroom. Whether it has a jury or whether it's a judge, they don't care. They look at this as a venue for that to happen. Eventually, what they want to do is virtual town hall meetings. We're not there yet today with Lync and Skype. You can't do these one-to-many scenarios with Lync and Skype. You can do it with Lync, but it requires people to download the client. We're going to get there, though. I mean, that's our intent for the product. Another industry that we look at very closely is manufacturing. If you look at what Boeing is doing, for example, Boeing doesn't build aircrafts anymore, right? What they do is they assemble aircrafts. And so what that means is they depend on a whole list of suppliers to bring those products to market at the right time. And so you think of, again, this ever-changing supplier base. Many of them already have established relationships, but for suppliers on the fringe, that might not be the case. And so they look at this as a way to drive that assembly. In the end, they want to collaborate on product design, and so they pull in researchers or they pull in other designers through this Lync and Skype connection to enable that. Another scenario, healthcare. You saw the example today. Telemedicine is the #1 scenario that we're seeing here. But if you think of also patients that are in remote locations who maybe can't make it into the doctor's office, that's a pretty popular scenario. Retail, the same thing. Retail organizations are looking for that rich experience with their individuals. We do a lot of work with Nordstrom, and they have what's called a personal shopper. That's someone who is there, and they'll work with you the whole time you're at Nordstrom, and you arrange that beforehand. They do that through Lync and Skype. It's a perfect example of how they control and provide a much richer service for them. The last one here is media. Journalists love Lync and Skype, because now they can interview anyone, anywhere on the planet using Skype. You also see a lot of reports coming in now that are actually aired where it's over a Skype connection. If you think of Hollywood screen test, you've got actors, kind of the two hubs in the US are Hollywood and New York. You have actors who are in New York. Do you really want to fly them out for the screen test? No, they want to use Lync and Skype as a way to start that communication and do at least a pre-screening there. Or just this idea of virtual storyboard meetings. All of these are scenarios that are coming to bear because of the connection between Lync and Skype, and those are all scenarios that we're quite excited about. So as Raphael comes up, I think the key thing I want to leave you with is we've seen tremendous maturity in voice. We're excited about that. Customers are asking us to look broadly across the workloads, and we're driving that integration, which we also feel excited about. We've seen specific cost savings from organizations, which we can help you build if that's something you're interested in. And then this Lync and Skype component becomes a real differentiator for us. So with that, Raf, you want to come up here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Troy. And welcome again, everyone. So the next two topics I want to discuss with you are, I feel very passionate about these two because I got to spend, before my current role, a lot of time with ISVs, which stands for Independent Software Vendors, our great partners, the ecosystem that I was managing in the role within Microsoft, but in this organization that cares about them. And the passion as we embrace unified communications and as we publish our APIs, it was so demanding for them that they wanted to jump into that wagon. And they started to develop these apps. And every time that I talked to them, they said, where's the API that I can use for building my own bots, my own business processes that I can integrate with Lync? That's one part of that. The other reason why I'm really passionate about this is because I get to spend in my current role time with customers like you or partners telling the voice, the conferencing piece are not the only things that you will get as part of Lync. You get a platform, a rich platform with published APIs that you can develop on top of that and also see the value of those elements. So for that particular one, we have right now, and it's a site that we call Lync Solutions. Lync Solutions publish all the applications that are built on top of Lync. And we have over 2,000 applications that today are leveraging Lync as a platform. What does that mean for you? It means that you can embrace, not only from the voice and conferencing perspective, you can start plugging your business processes as part of it. And I'm going to talk a little bit more on that. But as Troy mentioned, and you saw the video, the richness and the integration with Office 365 is out of the box. It's basically you embrace not only Lync as a product, but also the platform that integrates with Office 365, whether this is in the cloud or if you have an on-premise deployment. So it offers the best integration on those particular elements. The other piece that we hear a lot from customers is the business process that I'm unleashing right now or enhancing are great. And even sometimes I get these customers are surprised when I told them, hey, you know, your company, your business area is working on this ISV app. And you know what the ISV was built up on? Lync. I said, I didn't know. So my business area is already using Lync for this particular application. I said, yes, I didn't know that. So they are opening these new possibilities, and sometimes the business, and you might be on the business side or you might be on the IT side, but regardless of where you are, be aware that there are applications out there that you can embrace today and develop on top of that to really make sure that your business processes get the most advantages of the platform. And to that extent, and as we've been telling you, either across the industries or horizontally, customers expect integration. So integration is something that we need to lay the land and obviously understand where the business is going to and where are they coming from. But we don't necessarily argue that you need to replace everything. We need to integrate, obviously, and we need to make sure that you have the smooth integration in this process. So beyond voice, beyond video, Lync as a platform is delivering business value to customers today, either through applications or to their own Office 365 deployments that they might have already. So that's a great advantage if you are either a partner or a customer that are thinking about Lync as a platform as the new way for you to embrace this change or going to universal communications. And just to give you some perspective, over 1,500 partners build Lync apps today. It wasn't going to be very possible to include all the logos here, but this is just an example of all the partners that are building applications, and you can look for those in this, the lyncsolutions.com website that we have. But basically, if you are working on compliance projects, what applications we have that work on compliance, for training, how these partners are either addressing some enterprise needs in a unique way or extending the functionality that we deliver as part of the product. Workflow applications, contact center applications, all of those are built on top of Lync as a platform. And these are just a very small sample of those applications. So it doesn't mean that you need to get one of these. If you as a company have the power to develop these applications, that is also another option for you. You don't want to rely on whatever is out there, or you have a specific need. You definitely need to take a look at Lync as a platform as part of this. So our ecosystem is so rich that you can expect this level of applications by different pivots, if you will, to drive this business impact. So again, just to net on this, our partner ecosystem, which is so rich, are delivering the benefits beyond the traditional workloads that you might know today, beyond voice, beyond conferencing. You can see those delivering and addressing the needs for the enterprise. Now, as you heard this morning, Gurdeep and Derek talk about what are our investments, where are we going, and these resonate across the enterprise customers that we visit and work most of the time. These are the things that we see that being delivered today and over the next months, where we are going to keep emphasizing these investments as a way for us to really bring universal communications to you. The first one, which Troy already expanded, and you saw a demo today, connect to Skype and Lync. It's already out there. You saw the demo today about now the video phase, which is going to be the next piece that you're going to get as part of this connectivity. Also, deliver the mobile experience. What do we have in the market today, and how we're going to embrace that market in terms of the number of devices that are being shipped into the market. So as this morning you heard, that number of devices is going to keep growing. So we want to make sure that you have the right elements to integrate your business into that. Voice in the cloud, that's obviously one of our priorities. We're still working on that, and as you heard this morning, we are also going to keep delivering those throughout the next few months or years, so we can get the right level of integration that you expect from an enterprise solution. The meeting scenarios are also critical for us in terms of what do you expect across these key elements, like e-learning scenarios, auditorium scenarios, conference rooms. You saw that today, LRS and the partners that are here at the expo, they can show you how many solutions they have delivered and how rich is the level of engagement they can get from those. And video for everyone, last but not least, you saw the demo today about how we're embracing this video for everyone as part of the Lync and Skype connectivity. Any questions so far? Yes? WebRTC, great question. I think there's a session specifically either today or tomorrow, which they're going to talk about where are we at in terms of WebRTC. I don't have right now that information with me, but definitely we are working with, as part of we are members of the consortium that's looking at the WebRTC. that's as much as I know about that particular one, but I'm happy to point you to the right session, which is either, I believe it's today or tomorrow. Yes?
Just a quick question about enterprise voice. So when do you think it'll be available and how will it be delivered?
In the cloud, you mean? The enterprise voice in the cloud?
Yeah, will it be delivered via Skype or will it be delivered via other service providers? And what are the timeframes for delivery?
So today, probably you have heard about our hosted partners. So that's an option for you today if you want to go in a, if you will, a hosted model, which you don't maintain, you don't sustain, you just rely on a partner. That's one option that is available today, which we have great partners doing that offering. If you're thinking about our Microsoft Cloud, we are still working in terms of when we are going to be able to deliver those elements. Calendar year-wise, I think we're thinking about delivering this functionality to SMBs, meaning small, medium, or departmental organizations or departments, if you will. But that's the current commitment that we have as part of our own cloud. As far as how we're going to see those delivered, I think we still get to see those elements down the road in terms of as we are defining the delivery model for those.
You heard earlier in the session from Gurdeep, it would be in the year time frame. So it would be within the next year we would offer that first version.
That's right. Any more questions on this side? No? Okay, so the investments that I want to call out is essentially because I know in talking to all the customers that I manage today, it's basically, they always ask, what about the mobile clients? Where are you at? You saw today in the morning the investment that we're at the latest and greatest in the world of bring your own device, where devices are populating everywhere. The largest right now, or rising star in terms of Android tablets. Now we're going to support those, and that was one of the major asks we had, at least from the customers that I interact with. When are we going to have the Android for Lync for Android tablets? So it's coming, and we're going to keep investing in that. So in a nutshell, we have delivered the value throughout the ecosystem and making sure that you get on the major platforms, you have the consistent experience as a Lync client, so you can connect within your organization or beyond with that initiative or bring your own device. Multi-party HD video gallery, and that's an investment again that we are making, and we are making sure that you get the full spectrum of what we're going to deliver there. So you also saw the announcement today about whether we're going to, in the next release, we're going to let you integrate or have Tangbird devices joining a live meeting, a Lync meeting. So that's going to be a critical investment that we are doing, and we're going to see delivering those in this calendar year. But that doesn't stop there. We're going to keep enhancing these scenarios to make sure that you get the richness of the platform and making sure that the support and the standards that you get is essentially what you expect. And why pointing out the H264 SBC is because we decided to invest in that one, keeping in mind that not all the enterprise are the same. Everyone has the unique needs, and sometimes even bandwidth is required for some level of quality for those meetings. What that means, our investment on H264 means that we can adjust or give you the right experience, even if you don't have a good connection to that particular meeting. So in that case, you're not left alone with a poor experience whenever you don't have that high bandwidth quality. The other one, which is a critical investment, and just either our great partners, Crestron, Polycom, and Smart have delivered those already. If you haven't seen those, it's a great experience. So please, I encourage you to just take a look at the expo and see how great these LRS systems are working right now. And essentially what it is if you have a Lync deployment, you can already have an LRS system, a Lync room system. You don't need to do anything else. There's no gateway required. There's no other server required. It's basically another Lync client that you can connect to your meetings in terms of setting up the meeting. It's as easy as that. So I will encourage you to just take a look, verify if you happen to have any of those VCS solutions today. Just take a look at one of the LRS systems, and you will be amazed on the level of quality, the level of engagement you can get, and the collaboration, because as opposed to our competitors, we don't just do point-to-point video. This is true collaboration that comes from having a touch screen where you can either share or send or see video from from the other side or as part of the people who are integrated on that meeting. So that lets you really have the rich experience for collaboration. It's not just a video end-to-end point. So to summarize in terms of what you heard today, these are the benefits that you as an enterprise can expect from Lync. As Troy mentioned, the cost perspective, the making sure that we deliver on the voice expectations that you have today, but also it doesn't stop there. We want to make sure that these themes resonate with you because these are the ones we've been hearing from all of you, either interactions with you, our product team interacting with you, and the demand of this, and where we see things going in terms of the future developments and the needs and the benefits that you will get from adopting Lync. Work from anywhere, that's a no-brainer. We are doing that today, and you will expect to see those. Whether you can quantify those right now, either through a TCO study or through any other type of analysis that you will do, it's clearly an investment and clearly a benefit that you will get a return. Connected experience, this is across the different industries. We want to make sure that you have, and you're either in a business-to-business or business-to-consumer scenario, you are able to get all the advantages of connecting either within Lync or with Skype as part of your journey in universal communications. Simpler to manage. Obviously, if you are in IT, you always care about what do I need to do to enable these customers to do, or my own organization to do these investments or this administration of different services. As opposed, again, to our competitors, Lync is basically one single product, one single server that you can manage from one single console. We don't have many consoles to manage different services, different VCS or clients. We want one central way for you, or one central point for you to really manage this from one single point, and it could be tops down. So that takes advantage in terms of reducing costs, the level of training that you need to deliver to your IT pros, if that's what you're expecting to reduce. And last but not least, deployment flexibility. How easy you can get all your workers to embrace the new way to collaborate. I was talking earlier during lunchtime, one of the companies that is here at the Lync Conference, they were saying, we just acquired a new company down in Mexico, actually. And they said, we don't know how is that. We just have, like 24 employees, like full-time employees there, but they do mining. It's a mining company. And say, we don't know what to do there. So say, we don't even know where to travel. I feel like probably it's dangerous to travel over there. Well, if it's only 24 users that you will have, and right now you don't understand what they have, just bring them to the cloud. And then the deployment and flexibility you have, whether you're in a hybrid mode or in a pure cloud solution, the product is there for you to leverage that, and it's going to help you to reduce costs, and in this case, start delivering results from this new acquisition that this company just did. So in summary, these are the key benefits that you will see, and our customers tell us these are where they're getting their major return, and this is what we would like to obviously talk to you and show you and help you in this journey in adoption of Lync as a platform and integrated as part of the universal communications. So that's what I have we have for you today. We're open for Q&A if there's any questions you might have. Yes. Yes. So we don't have a specific timeline right now in terms of the video to video. It was demonstrated this morning. But in terms of timing, it's going to be, I think it's going to, we're talking about summertime, if someone not sure.
Yeah, so the comment this morning, and so keep in mind we don't work in the business group, so we don't own the timing for the release of these products, but I'm just sharing what was shared this morning, and that was in the next few months, we would have the video to video Lync and Skype connection, and it was...
Yep.
So,
No, that's not what we know. But also for those particular ones, actually, there's a Lync meetings session right after this one, where those particular questions might be addressed. It's definitely not the same timeline, but I will encourage you to join the next session for those particular ones. Question in the back?
Yeah.
So Skype, the question is just a little bit, will we enable Skype users to use the current account in order to join Lync meetings? Was that the question? Yeah, that's the way it works today. So they don't need to create a new account. As long as they have a Skype account, they could right now in the federation, right now they could do IM and voice and the...
I think the question, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The other question that you had, the last question around the conferencing, that will not be in this version of Lync and Skype connected, but as you know, you can use the link and download the web client for the one-to-many today, so you don't need to do anything from a future standpoint to enable that conferencing setting. So, other questions?
Yep. No more questions? Everything was clear? Benefits are top-notch? Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.